Whoa.
Wow. Hello and welcome to Gamersledge podcast. Dan, if you liked it the first time, you get it the second time. Yeah. So can you still hear me, Matt? Because guess what happened?
Uh-oh. We've lost Mark.
Oh, you can't hear me at all, can you? Fantastic. Mark,
where'd you
go? Oh, that's no good. You can't hear me either, huh? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. I can no longer see you, though.
Yeah, you can't see me. That's going to be the rub. You're not going to be able to see me throughout the podcast. I'll have to add myself in manually because for some reason my video camera froze, which means that XSplit now wants to rule its life. And,
I am XSplit.
Yes, I will control all of the things with the things. So add, what the hell, device, video, webcam. There's only one.
There can be only one.
There is only one, luckily, except that I still don't see anything. Gotta love me some technical difficulties to start the podcast. That's right. Alright, let's just remove this one and try. The light's still on. That's what's disturbing me. The light on the webcam is still on.
Have you tried just turning the camera and in Rabbit, just turning the control off and on again?
Yeah. No, that's what caused this problem because it froze, and then I tried to quick turn it off and back on so that XSplit wouldn't detect that it
capture it.
And yeah, that didn't work. So give me 1 second here. I'm actually
the flops flop quicker than you can flip.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm gonna unplug it and plug it back in, and
you turn it off and turn it back on again.
And that's exactly basic tech support 101 for gamers and PC users alike. All right, and the light is still on. What the hell? How is that possible?
Capacitors?
Flux capacitors? I don't understand this. Add device, video, Logitech. Oh, there's my giant head. Yep, okay, we've got video. Hey.
So here I thought you were transmitting video to another dimension.
You're going to be in a circle, and I am going to be in a...
Circle takes the square?
Yeah, how does this work? If I move over here...
Dodecagon?
Your face is a dodecagon. Yeah, so I'm just going to be the left. You won't be able to see me the whole podcast. I'm sorry.
Just staring at a giant G.
You probably feel much better about it, to be honest. I don't blame you. Let's do what we always do, Matt. Welcome to Gamersledge. My name is Mark. I'm one of your hosts. Joining me is Matt, who has been the only person you've been able to see up until this point. Joining us from not yet the Great White North, but soon, Matt, soon.
No, but it was actually chilly today. I actually almost wanted a coat today. Almost.
I actually wore a coat today, but that's because I have adapted to the city much faster than I swear to God, like the first day I moved out to California, period, I was freezing if I was standing in the shade. And I don't get it because I used to go, when I was in Michigan, I used to go outside when it was like 45 degrees in shorts and be like, no big thing. But now I am absolutely freezing cold all the time. I've like turned 90 within the span of a couple years. It's amazing.
Blood flow, my friend.
Yeah, I guess. No, man, I'm walking up these hills. These hills are no joke. I got plenty of blood flow going on. It's just not keeping me warm. But speaking of keeping us warm, there's gaming.
What you do indoors, which is temperature controlled, you hope.
Well, we have our windows open here all the time now, so it's kind of...
Wait a minute, we're just cold, and now you're sitting in an apartment with all the windows open.
Well, yeah. It gets hot. Electronics get hot, yo. And I got a lot of electronics.
It's not like it's vacuum tube electronics. Jeez.
So let's start with what you played, or do you want me to go first? I don't care.
I can go.
Okay.
I got my list ready, actually.
Matt, what'd you play last week?
What did I play last week? Actually, a pretty... not light weekend or light week because I spent a lot of the weekend doing a specific thing. But I did manage to finish Song of the Deep. Got all the trophies. There's no platinum for that one, so just completed the trophy list and finished the story. That was a pretty awesome game. It was Insomniac Games, published by GameStop. It was a weird thing that hasn't been replicated so far. No one said you could come in here. What are you doing?
Is it a child unit or a dog unit?
It's a four-legged unit. Like, I thought I closed the door. Apparently not all the way.
I have one of those. Come here. Come here. Come here. Don't step on my keyboard. Don't knock my microphone over. See, mine's here.
Well, I can't see, but...
Oh, right. You can't see. That's us.
We're sharing doggos. Come here, doggo. There he is.
Yeah, it's probably good that they can't see each other because they start barking at each other.
Probably. Although he's not looking at the screen for some reason.
Well, neither is mine, to be honest.
All right, Luke. Go back to Keegan now. Away. So let's see. The music in that game, of course, it's called Song of the Deep, but the music in that game is really, really awesome. But yeah, it was a solid game. I didn't quite collect all the armor pieces. I think it was I didn't get all of. There in a couple of gems. There were some of those things that are just like I'm out of ideas. I have no idea how you get any more of this stuff, so I don't want to look it up, and so I'll just get what I get. Let's see. I tried out Skyforce Academy or Skyforce Anniversary Edition, which is a vertical scrolling shoot 'em up, mixed with that element of a Metroidvania where you start out the first time with all of your super power ups, and then you die finding an invincible boss.
I hate that.
And then you start over with the base ship, and all of your powers are locked, and you have to play through the levels collecting stars to go buy all your powers back.
No, thank you.
So it was interesting. It's kind of addictive. I'll probably keep playing it when I've got like short little gaps where I want to do something.
Yeah, but I think that is the cheapest way to set up a game possible. Let's give you what the game actually is if you grind for 900 hours. And then we're going to take it all away and make you start over from scratch. I think it should be the other way around. That they give you everything off the bat, and then as you play, they enhance you even further. That's just bad design to me.
Yeah, I guess I would have to be upset with Symphony of the Night if I was going to talk about that too hard, and I can't be upset with Symphony of the Night, so...
Yeah. Final Fantasy does it too, and it makes me mad every time they do it.
Yeah.
Look, your tutorial, you're super powered. Like you will be 90 hours into the game, but then we're going to take it all away. It's like, come
Final Fantasy 15, here, let's start at the end of the game, and then go back to the...
No.
So, it's an interesting mechanic, though. We'll have to see. I won't play it a ton, I don't imagine, but... At least it's not loot boxes. That's all I gotta say.
Quit jumping the gun.
I know. Foreshadowing. Rock Band 4, played that. I'm pretty much of the opinion Bloodstone is impossible unless you are just a group that can max every single song in the list, because it's only taking the top 10% of the ranked group, and the number of groups in there is so small that to be in the top 10, you've got to be, well, for the first round, you had to be number 1. For the second round, depending on how they round, either 2 or 3. And now I don't know what this round is for what place you'd have to be, but it's kind of ridiculous.
Did you get the survey today?
Did I get the survey? I got the tell us your stories thing.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. And oh my God, it was all I could do not to spam them with hate. Because if you didn't get this, they sent out a survey today to have people tell them their fondest Rock Band memories. And it was all I could do not to type Rock Band 1 through 3.
There are definitely things in 4 that have changed that are not necessarily for the better in terms of ability to play non-locally, right? I mean that's the big hang up, right? I mean the game itself is the same game. There are still some weird quirks in it that they haven't gotten all the bugs wrangled out of it yet. But overall, I mean, local, having, the family here and a couple, 3 of us sit down and play something for a while, that's still fun.
But that's not I have to think that's not the typical average use case scenario. I think I'm the use case scenario for most of them, which is a single person by themselves who wants to play with other people but can't because you have 3 people, well, 5 people technically, and there's just me, and we can't play 5 and 1 together like we used to be able to in all the other games. Not that I'm bitter.
Blame EA for dropping them. I don't know.
No, I blame them for promising one thing and delivering another. That's really what I'm upset about, is that they said, oh, you want multiplayer? We're going to give you multiplayer. And then it turned out not to be the multiplayer that we were expecting. And I just made my Jedi hand movement for you, Matt. Well, this is not the multiplayer you're looking for.
Right. It's not the... I get your point. I'm not saying I'm not saying your feelings are invalidated, but they didn't promise that it was going to be exactly like it was. They did deliver multiplayer. So technically, they did what they said they were going to do. But
yeah, but they also didn't dissuade you from believing that you were going to get the multiplayer you were expecting.
Right,
and I'm really trying hard to keep my feelings out of it. I mean, when I talk about it, obviously I get upset about it. But if you look at just the strictest black and white, you're right. They delivered multiplayer, but they also let people believe that it was going to be the exact same multiplayer they had previously. There was no communication, no openness ahead of time that it was not going to be that. And you had to buy the upgrade to the game for $30 to get it, which I think was a little...
And they released the Rivals pack well in advance of announcing what their online play plan was.
Right.
So
exactly.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, I guess I understand the frustration. I do.
And I'm not saying Rock Band sucks and you shouldn't buy it. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying if you have the use case that you and I had, then you will find there are definitely things lacking. If you don't care about who you play with and you can find one other person for each instrument, which you can, there's Discord servers, there's Reddit threads to do that, then you'll be just fine. I am a little frustrated with it at this point, and it's not fun for me to play by myself. So that's a thing.
Yeah, and I guess I have much more fun playing it with the kids than by myself. I will fire it up and sing a few songs by myself if I know we need some points or something. But yeah, it's just yeah, and it's hard, you know. I mean, the kids are waning on it too. They're well, one's not here, one's effectively stopped playing, and the other one still likes to play, but doesn't really want to ever give up that much time to play that it takes to get the final couple of levels. And I just don't know. I just don't think, like, we played the 3 Spotlight songs a lot, and we couldn't get the marker above 50%. So even if we pegged the XP, even if we just played and pegged the XP bar, we would mathematically never get to that 90 percentile needed to
get
the Bloodstone ranking. So
sorry,
yeah. So I don't know. It's better than it was. I mean, they do keep improving it, but there are definitely still frustrations.
You know,
and I'm sure the group that won last time is going to win again. I haven't looked at the standings recently, but there's no reason to believe the one that won last time won't win this time.
If Dave were here, he'd tell me that this makes no sense because the game is turning into work, so therefore I should love it.
No spreadsheets involved yet, though.
No spread. Well, that's not entirely true.
That's true. If you wanted to know exactly how many points you're going to get for certain songs, you would need a spreadsheet.
Yeah, and chart the DLC across the different games. There's definitely spreadsheets I've had for that. So yeah, there's spreadsheets involved, but I don't know. I'm actually like,
I'm kind of surprised you haven't gotten rid of it yet.
No, I'll never get rid of it. I have so much invested in it. That has to be my most expensive game ever.
Oh, I'm sure it is mine.
Right. And so it's like I do like to sing as well. So once in a blue moon, I will pull out the microphone and sing a couple songs. But then I remember, oh, there's nobody here to sing with, and I get depressed and put it away after like 1 or 2. So it's like, it's purely a social game for me. And so I have been lucky enough to make it this far, but now it's like I can go no farther because, and I don't like playing with strangers. I have in the past, but it's like, eh.
Yeah, it's different, and I don't like playing with strangers. Well, you know, for pretty much anything ever. Which makes my next one really interesting because I played in the Battlefront 2 beta, and I think I was the only person in my friends list playing the Battlefront 2 beta for the most part. So yeah, I never partied up with anybody. Everything I did for that was just me getting match made with whatever. I know we're going to talk some more about certain aspects of this later. But,
yeah, we are.
But I know I gave some initial thoughts on it last week because it had just dropped on Wednesday right before the cast, so I was played a little bit of it. But assuming everything that I'm currently caring about stays even, there will definitely be 2 modes of this I'll be playing. I'll be playing the single player just because single player. We didn't get to sample any single player in the beta, which isn't really a beta, it's more of a demo. But the Starfighter mode, I definitely came to love the Starfighter Assault mode in that game.
So I have a question.
Okay.
It's a very important and serious question.
That makes me think it's neither of those things.
Was there any point while you were playing that mode that you were the only one left?
No.
No?
Not that I'm aware of.
Then I am not interested in this game. If I cannot be the last Starfighter, then I am not interested.
See, now I knew this was going nowhere good. So one of the things I didn't talk about last time because I didn't really understand the system yet, and this is across all three that we saw, the Galactic Assault, the Starfighter Assault, and the Strike, is as you're playing, you're earning things called combat points. Mm-hmm. And those combat points are what let you become either a hero or a different ship, a hero ship, or if you're in like Galactic Assault, a bomber or whatever. So instead of having to find the random tokens like you did in Battlefront 1, you actually just buy that upgrade. And you start out each round with 0 points, and it's just the points you build during that match. So you don't carry points over from match to match or anything.
So it's a MOBA.
It's a MOBA-esque element, sure. I get it. You're not buying, things to power up your character. You're buying a temporary powered up different thing.
Yeah.
So I mean, like in the Galactic Assault for the Battle for Theed, you could, if you were playing for the battle droids, you could hop into the MT tank that was approaching the castle, and you could fire the main cannons at the clone troopers that were trying to take down the tank, or you could hop into a gunship for the Republic and fire your green beams of death down on different things, or you could become a what were those things called, a vulture droid fighter, and try to take out the gunship that was shooting at the tank, or attack ground troops or whatever. Or ultimately, you spend those points to become a hero. So in that mode, it was Darth Maul, Boba Fett for the Trade Federation side, and Rey and Han for the Republic side. And then there's different, there's the jump troop class you can buy. There's a Wookiee you could buy. There's a battle droid, the super battle droid you could buy. So it's depending on your side. There's analogous things you could buy, but depending on what you were.
Can I buy a Goof Troop since it's Disney?
No. There was no Goof Troop. There was no Mickey that we saw yet. Now the beta demo only had a small percentage of the ships, troops, maps, everything. It was not
tokens, but power up people.
Yeah. What?
I went to say tokens like the original one.
Oh.
I meant the power up people that you can now buy at any time with it if you have enough points.
Right. Yeah. The heroes or villains. Or they're just calling them heroes now. So. But the Starfighter was the same thing. In the Starfighter mode, you could either buy the Millennium Falcon or you could buy the Slave One if you got far enough in the points. Bombers so far are by far my favorite class in the Starfighter Assault mode. They are beasts. And this every one of them, the Strike, the Galactic Assault, and the Starfighter Assault, what we saw was all what do you call it? Objective based. Nothing that was in the demo, beta, whatever, was just go kill everything. I mean, you could play it that way, and definitely one of the ways to get a good score is to go out and kill everything. But it was all objective based. So, it was attack the castle. It was steal the artifact from the temple. It was attack or defend the space yard, the shipyard, So that was a good element. Hopefully, we'll see that holds up for the most part. Of course, it looks and sounds and plays beautifully. Breaking up the different modes, but to the different developers, at least for the two that we saw, was an amazing move, because DICE proved last time that they definitely didn't have the chops to do the Starfighter part, because it was markedly horrible.
And there was Criterion that did the space one, right?
Yep, Criterion did the space one, and then Motive is doing the single player, which of course.
How weird is it that Criterion has moved from making physics-based racing games to complete fictional, like, star travel?
But it's still physics-based. I mean, the ships
is it though? Because that stuff doesn't work in space.
Well, it does to the way I mean, think about it. Star Wars ships in space basically
are like planes.
They act like there's friction, something that they're fluid that they're flying through. So basically, you just have fluid flight dynamics. Yeah, it's not perfect, but you basically can like almost power slide through the air. You can't just flip around like you could, like, say, the Star Furies from from Babylon 5 or something. You know, you're flying that atmospheric style of flight, and the ships definitely handle different depending on how fast they're going and which ship is it that you have. You know, the A-wing you can basically almost turn on a dime. The Y-wing takes a good while to get about. But yeah, there's definitely a heft and a feel to the ships, and it's different across the different classes. The only one that seems to defy it all, and this is, you know, kind of story armor, is the Falcon. The Falcon handles like an A-wing, but is, you know, 10 times the size of any of the fighters. Mm. So, you know, it kind of breaks the model, but you know, that's the advantage of saving your points and spending it on the big thing.
I'm calling you right now. One of the upgrade tokens for those points, for Starfighter mode, is going to be called Death Blossom.
That would be nice. I don't think that'll happen, but that would be nice. Yeah, the power ups for the Starfighter mode were very limited. Yeah, so for the most part, I just kept on respawning in a regular ship until the. Actually, was there anything besides the hero ships? I don't remember now. It's not been that long ago, and I forgot already. My second favorite mode was Strike. Galactic Assault, which is the big one, was my least favorite. But again, it could just have been that map. Could just have been, you know, something about that. I don't know. The Strike was it 6-on-6 or 8-on-8? I think it was 8-on-8. And again, objective based, but it was dang it, why can't I never remember Maz Kamada's temple bar thing on the planet from episode 7. So you were in the forest for the most part.
Sure.
So that you know, where Rey found Luke's lightsaber. Spoilers.
Oh, okay, got it.
So you're in the forest around there. For the most part, and I had some pretty dang good runs in there. Still, you know, I'm never top of the boards, but for me, I had some pretty good runs in there. And I'm sure that'll all fall apart once, you know, the game goes live and all the real cool super ultra players come in there, and I live for like 10 seconds like I do in every other FPS tag.
Love the 9-year-olds.
Yeah, whatever.
What else have you played? Good stuff.
Let's see. That's actually all I've played. Just a quick current shows that I'm watching. The Gifted had episode 2. Inhumans had episode 3, which helped but still isn't great. The Orville, which is actually becoming possibly the best show of the fall in my opinion so far.
That's what I like to hear. I still haven't started it yet.
And then The Good Doctor. Still not sure on that one. That one could get a little
preachy.
Well, it did that in the first episode. It's down the preachiness a little bit, but it's falling into a pattern. You know, it's a procedural, right? But
right.
You gotta not feel like repetitive.
Right,
you know,
right.
It's so yeah, we'll see. And then we watched a chunk of last season's Arrow. Because we're still catching up on last season shows, even though this season shows have started this week. So yay! That's the highlights. I did a couple other things, but nothing. Last night I watched the last episode and the first episode of Voyager, and I remembered why I hate that show.
The last episode and the first episode. Well, the last episode was not that bad.
Last episode, the first half of the last episode was good. The second half of the last episode is terrible.
Yeah. No, it wasn't. It was. I still think that Next Gen probably had the strongest ending, and Deep Space Nine had the next strongest ending.
Yeah, I think I probably liked DS9's better than Next Gen's, but Next Gen definitely had a solid ending.
I still have not watched Discovery yet, and I'm not sure if I'm going to, because I'm
some of the things I've heard now. I mean, I watched the first episode that was on TV, and I really got no motivation to go any further with it. And now some of the spoiler stuff I'm hearing, I'm like, real what? Okay.
So people don't understand that this is not, it's not the Prime Universe, it's JJ verse. Because I mean, they can claim it's not all they want. They're not saying that. They're saying it's set before Kirk and all this stuff. But if you look at the rights, it's Columbia that's producing it, and Columbia owns the current JJ verse things, and if they and so therefore this has to be that.
And the tech and everything, and just the look of things,
right, is completely all wrong.
Yeah,
completely all wrong. So I still haven't watched it. I want to give it a fair shake. I will say that I'm trying to separate myself from the negative feelings that I feel for them using this as geek bait for people to sign up for their service. I still think that's...
They had the biggest growth in their service ever, and as soon as that show's done, they'll see the biggest death in their service. Probably. So I guess I'll finish my TV stuff since we started talking about that first. Yep. I finished the Rick and Morty season finale, or is it the season finale? If you weren't aware, this was supposed to be a 14-episode season, but they realized that they were so far behind, it was never going to happen, so they made it 10 episodes. But there's something that happens in the post-credit scene that makes me believe that they are adopting the Doctor Who format we're going to have a holiday
standalone holiday special. I really think that's what they're going to do. Because to be honest, this was probably the weakest or next to weakest episode of the season. So that sounds like a bad thing, but the season's really strong. But overall, it was definitely the oddest and weirdest, and I think part of that was because they realized halfway through they needed to season finalize it,
tie something up,
finalize it, something. Still
now,
doing that.
Did this season, was it this season that had the Simpsons intro, or was that last season?
No, I believe that was last season.
Okay. I said otherwise that might have been an episode too, because that was like 10 minutes long.
Yeah, no, I mean, good feel for how that works though. Hilarious. Also caught up on all the John Olivers that I had been behind, which was like 5. So happy that that's caught up. And that's really all I've had time for TV at all. I've been playing a lot of things though. I did open up Injustice 2 because I had to check out Black Lightning and Raiden, and Black Lightning is pretty badass, but Kate wasn't wrong last week when she said that they changed the super. Raiden does this amazing super where at the end he summons the Mortal Kombat dragon made out of lightning to basically, I can't remember if it chomps them or if it just bashes them from the stratosphere. Either way, it's really nice. And Black Lightning instead has this little lightning goo ball instead that looks nowhere near as cool. So it's kind of a weird, you can tell that they needed a placeholder to not have to rework the whole thing. So yeah.
Damage wise, does it work out the same, or is it less powerful?
Yeah. It's exactly the same. It's exactly the same. But it is weird to see Black Lightning do Raiden's teleport dive. he doesn't scream anything when he does it, so it's completely silent, which is really weird because suddenly Black Lightning's just flying palms first towards somebody. It's a little weird.
With no sound.
No sound. Sort of it's a little weird, but still amusing.
Thunder Punch!
No, that's Inukchuk. We don't have that character. I would kill if they put Apache Chief in Injustice 2. That would be the most amazing thing ever. In fact, I'm actually going to tweet Ed Boon after this show and be like, Ed Boon, make this happen. I want to see a growing... They've got the Atom, so they can most definitely do a giant-sized Apache Chief. I totally want... This is This is now the greatest thing that's ever happened on this podcast, that we came up with Apache Chief for Injustice 2. I'm making a note. Apache Chief tweet at Ed Boon. That is great. Okay. Done. I played Mecho Tales with my wife. If you're not familiar with Mecho Tales, it is a very bright, colorful, and cute couch player co-op platformer. It is a little bit on the... I wouldn't call it unforgiving. It's actually kind of a little blue dude starts with an M. Why am I blanking out on his name?
Blue dude.
Man. Yeah, Green
Mega?
Man.
Mega
Rock,
Man?
no. Mega Man. God, I was blanking out on the Mega part. It's been a long day. So yeah, it was it's kind of like a Mega Man type adventure in terms of the platforming, but not as unforgiving as Mega Man, because Mega Man's super unforgiving.
Right.
The weird part is that it's a cross between a platformer and a 360 bullet hell game, because you have the ability to shoot, and it controls like a twin stick shooter. So you move your character with the left analog stick, and you're shooting in 360 degrees with the right analog stick, and you use R2 to jump. So that's the hand setup. So your thumbs are on the sticks, and then you're using R2 to jump. Now you can use X if you want to, if you're not firing with the right stick. But what's weird about it is that your character is not doing the firing. They have a little drone that is slightly off center of you that's doing the firing. So dialing in the firing is like, I have instinctually over the years picked up the ability to say, okay, if my character is here, then I need to press this direction at this angle in order to shoot this thing across the screen. But because it is slightly off center from my character, it's wrong. Because I keep thinking that my character is the one doing the shooting, but in fact it's this drone that is always following behind you. So depending on where you stopped, the drone can actually be in front of you, or it can be behind you, or etc. Because it's one of those ones that trails after you no matter what direction you go or what you do. It's always... Does that make sense?
So it doesn't orbit the character. I was thinking, so if you push this way, it doesn't go over here. It doesn't go over here. It's always behind you, and it's shooting this way.
Well, if you were to go to the left, it would follow you to the left. But then if you were to make a hard right and go back the other way, it'll do that thing where it goes past you to the left and then goes right. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah, sorry, I know you can't see my hands. I'm pantomiming this, but basically it's one of those things where it goes wherever you went first.
Okay.
Which can throw you off because it was on the left of me before, and now it's on the right of me, and it's a little weird. But so far, I mean, it was, I want to say it was $20, and there is a dearth right now of couch co-op games. There are like only a few that we don't own, and so this was a brand new one, and it came up, and it's bright and colorful, so if you're into that type of thing, it's good. And you can actually play it with up to 4 players, couch co-op. That's pretty interesting. Metronomicon Slay the Dance Floor, I finally broke down, bought it. It is every bit as good as the PC. Still has the same weird thing where you're using the face buttons rather than the directional buttons, because they have things where you need to do 2 directions at once, and there's no way to map that to the gamepad. So, but overall, still really good. A lot of roguelike qualities to it, in that you're expected to lose the levels, but you get overall points that you can then use to level up your characters over time. So, but it's very good. A lot of, if you liked Dance Dance Revolution, that type of music, there's a lot of that type of music in here. A lot of that type of music. So it's really good. Happy Dungeons came out a couple weeks ago. in the beta there was a real problem, whereas if you played online with other people, it had this horrific slowdown problem. Still there in the actual release.
Ouch.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. And then I've been playing a grip of Divinity Original Sin 2. I looked at my file last night, and I'm up to 150 hours. But the funny part is that I actually restarted the game as I was kind of thinking I was going to do on last week's show. I restarted the game, and I'm still finding stuff in the tutorial that I have never seen before. Like, not small amounts, right? Like, I spent 70 hours on the tutorial level alone last time.
70 hours?
70 hours in the tutorial level. And this time I'm like, well, I know where everything is, so I'm just going to rush through it. And I did all the stuff. And then I went somewhere and I'm like, wait, what's this? I've never seen this before. And it was an entire camp that had like 7 new quests for me. Not just like some little thing I missed. I missed an entire section of the map. There is no map. So that's one of the things that's, like, there's a mini-map, but there is no actual, well, I say that. There's no map when you're playing with controller, at least not that I found. There very well may be a map button when you're playing with keyboard and mouse, but since I only play with controller, I don't know. But anyways, I couldn't believe it. Like, in it radically, I'm trying to remain spoiler free here, but let's say that on all of my previous playthroughs I had done the final fight of Act 1 and it played out exactly the same way every time I did it. Well, since I found this new area, it actually changed how the final boss fight of Act 1 was set up. Nobody participated, and it wasn't like it really changed it, but it did dramatically change the story. And now I'm like, oh crap, what did I miss before, you know? Because this time I tried not to do the thing where I kill everybody. Because you get experience from killing everybody. But even then, I tried to do a good playthrough and I accidentally killed somebody. And I didn't even realize it. In fact, they were in the secret area that I hadn't found. And when I went back to the secret area, they were dead. And I was sitting there going, how did they die in town? And then I realized I absorbed their soul somewhere else. Yeah. And I'm like, oh crap, am I going to do this again? So anyways, yeah, on this playthrough, there's that, and then I figured out how to finally overcome something that had been plaguing me since the first time I played the game and solve a quest. So I all in all, I think I gained an additional 2 levels from all the extra content that I did in the tutorial level. I'm now level 9, leaving the tutorial level, and this game is not like a Final Fantasy where level 9 is a drop in the bucket. I want to say the max level is something like 30? 20 or 30. So I'm like either a half or a third of the way through the game by finishing all the content in the tutorial level. So
are there just 2 sections of this game, the tutorial, and then whatever comes beyond? And that's it?
No, I think there's a total of, I believe, 3 acts. And this is just Act 1. And Act 2 is supposed to be giant-sized, like Witcher-sized. And then Act 3 is supposed to be like more funnel, narrow kind of type thing.
So how long did the tutorial Act 1 take you this time? So if it took you 70 hours the last time you played,
I don't know how long it took. I want to say it probably took a good 30 some odd hours.
You've already put more hours into this game alone than...
See, and that's the weird part, right? Is normally I would have just said, okay, I killed all those people in Act 1. Let's just go on from here. But I mentioned last week that I had that hour and 15, hour and 30 minute battle that I basically had to wipe out. And I'm like, well, crap, if I'm going to wipe that out, then I really kind of want to go back and do the story quests the right way and not make it so that I can't revisit some of those story quests later. And so that's what I did. And this game, like, it's like an OCD person's nightmare. Because
so
if you...
stay far, far away.
I mean, no, I think you'll love it while you're doing it. But it's one of those things where it's like, oh God, I killed this person. Maybe not even on purpose, but I did something that initiated these sequence of events, and X resulted because of those events. And so you may not find out for like hours later that a quest you needed to complete involved person that was involved in those things that led up to X. And you have already killed them and they're gone forever. And it's like, no, I must see all the content, and it's horrible. But it's great at the same time. I'm absolutely like...
So why are you just randomly killing NPCs in this game? I mean, okay. Something you accidentally do just because you're so powerful things just die around you? Or
no. What it is there are moral choices to be made throughout the subquests as you work through it. And so as an example, okay, there is a chef. And this chef is not a nice guy. He's basically, like, think of him as like the alpha prison yard guy, right? And he extorts everybody and he's totally a dick and you don't like him. But he has someone hostage. And the only way that he will let this person go is if you find something that was stolen from him. And so once you do the investigatory work to track down who stole it from him, you go to trade the stuff that was stolen for his life. But then it becomes the conundrum of the guy wants to know who stole the stuff from him, since it wasn't this guy that he had captured. And you're faced with the moral choice of, do I rat this person out or do I not? And if you choose not, then the chef and all of his cronies try to attack you. But it turns out that one of his cronies, you need to complete a quest later. And so if you've killed him already because you were doing the right thing in this one instance, do you see the issues? So it's a much more complicated weave of actions and decisions that can lead you to actually miss entire parts of this, not the main story, but subplots later.
It sounds like you'd almost need 2 playthroughs to see it all, because I would imagine if you do tell him, then he goes and kills that guy, and then that guy's needed for something else later.
So let me tell you. So there are 5 characters that have pre-scripted backstories, and you can go and help them unravel their personal quest. You can only have 4 people in your party. So guess what that automatically means? A second playthrough.
Second playthrough, yeah.
Right.
That's possibly 300 hours just to play through once.
And more than likely her stuff. And that's actually where this gets interesting, is one of those scripted backstories. If you have that person in your party, when you find the person that stole the stuff from the chef, she kills him. Flat out kills him. And that means that you can no longer, he's actually a vendor, so you can no longer access any of the stuff that he sold, and you need him for another person's quest later. So it's like, it becomes this like big tangled web of...
You've got a spreadsheet.
I don't, but the internet does. Yeah, and I'm like seriously considering one, which means that this already passes my seal of approval. I'm not joking when I say that I think that this is the greatest CRPG ever made. I'm there are bugs in it. I am exploiting one right now. because I know they're going to patch it soon, so I'm trying to get as much use out of it as possible. I am playing on the wee baby difficulty, like the little girly man difficulty, like as the lowest possible difficulty. And there are times that the battles are difficult even for me. But
to get the actual ending, don't you have to be on like normal or high? Isn't this one where to get all the content, or is that something else?
That's something else. If you want all the achievements, which means like when trophies come out when they do the PS4 version, you're gonna have to play through on the hardest difficulty, which is called tactician mode. And let me tell you, if this exploit basically makes it so that I can buy anything and it costs me nothing. And all I really use it for
inventory type bugs.
It's an inventory bug. Basically, if you put all your gold into a bag, you can then buy the gold from the vendor that they have, but you still keep your gold. And it also means that anything you buy, you get, but they don't get the gold. I mean, they get the gold, but it doesn't come out of your bag, if that makes sense.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Something else has got a bug where you can see what weight or what level you can steal from someone.
No, that's Divinity also, yeah.
Oh, that's this one too? Okay.
But this basically nullifies the need to steal because you do it legitimately by buying stuff from them. Okay. And because you exponentially increase the amount of gold by just buying gold from them. So like if I have 200 gold and they have 500 gold, then I just buy 200 gold because that's the most I can buy because I only have 200. And that gives me 400. Well, now I buy 400 more gold. That gives me 800. So now I buy their 500 gold that they have, and I can keep doing this over and over until I've got like 4,000, and I'm not going to need... Most things don't cost that much, at least not in Act 1 or 2. So you can actually keep going until this gets bigger and bigger. But the point is, on Tactician mode, you're going to need every possible advantage. So being able to buy all the spell books, that's where this is something that I would feel critical. Do I need to do this now? No. Am I doing it because I want to have fun and just enjoy the story and the playthrough? Yes. So before everybody gets all upset that I'm using a hack or exploiting a known bug, you're right. But I'm also on the story difficulty because I just want to experience the story on my first playthrough. I don't want to have to work at it or think at it too hard. I've already figured out what my optimal team build is for this. For powers, everybody's got freaking chameleon, so they can fly all over the battlefield. It's sweet as hell. And then Tentacle Strike is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. It basically turns your arm into a giant octopus, and you can hit people 27 feet away. It's great.
Alrighty then. I'm assuming no New Game Plus then.
No New Game Plus. You just start a new save file, and off you go. So, Divinity Original Sin 2, if you like any kind of tactical combat games or any kind of old school D&D Gold Box, Neverwinter Nights kind of game, this is the game for you. I'm not even touching on mods yet because the mods are flowing like wine. And when I say mods, I really mean they actually gave everyone the actual tools that they use to build the game. You can get them for free. It's a real development environment, so it's not drag and drop user friendly per se, but they are putting tutorial videos out, and I was able to follow it and make a level for my people to be on. So I'm really close to publishing my first level. So I'm pretty interested in that. And then they have GM mode, which is even on top of that, to where you can build your own adventures and run people through them. It's pretty amazing for $49.99.
So if a 300-hour game 4 times over isn't enough, here's all this other stuff you can do.
That's exactly it. And I'm like, this is an indie studio. That's the thing that just blows my mind. This is an indie studio that did this. It's not a AAA studio. It's indie Euro studio, and it's amazing. So
you'd think they wanted it to be shorter so that you come back and buy something else from them.
And they haven't done any updates other than patches yet. They have content updates that are coming too. That'll be free. It's mind-boggling, but in a good way. God bless the indie gaming scene on 2016. That's all I got to say. Maybe by the time I'm done with this, Pathfinder, the CRPG will be out, and we'll see how that works. But I kind of got to think that anything's going to pale in comparison at this point, because this is just, the scale of this is so large. I don't know how anything can compete with it at this point. All right, let's get into the news. You can see the news once I put it up on the screen. That's the good side. So let's get to the news. As I try and activate the launchpad from XSplit. Why is it not working? Why is it not working? If you want to follow along with us, you can head over to twitter.com/Gamersledge, where we post all of our news throughout the week. Sometimes even twice. That's how much we love it. Mainly because I don't check after Matt's been excellent and posted news. I'm not going to pin you up there. I was going to pin you up there, but... Is that as big as it gets? That's weird.
That's as big as it ever is for me.
Okay. I thought for some reason I could full screen that bigger. Alright, let's see here. There's actually a good bit of news. But before we get to the news... Well, I guess we can tackle it in the news because it's definitely in there.
Yeah.
We're getting close. There it is. Podcast. So there's last week's podcast. So we'll start up from here. Destiny 2 players discover humorously elaborate raid exploit. I thought that was funny because of the timing. We had John on the show talking about why he sold Destiny 2 back, confirming why I felt the ill will to never pick it up in the first place. Turns out that you can super cheese the new raid, and they figured that out like just a couple days after it was launched.
Yeah, but it's non-trivial. It's like...
Oh, no, it's not. It's not. But
this is insane that people have the time and energy and tenacity to just find this stuff. It's impressive as it is depressing to me because I am not a game breaker. I know you are. But, that's just like, why not just play the game and not break it? But, okay, whatever.
Well, to be honest, I don't believe most people's intention is to break it. What happened, I can give you an example in the, was it the Vault of Glass raid? I think, yes, it's one section of the Vault of Glass raid. There's a bridge, and you have to kill people on this side of the bridge, and you have to get people over the bridge. The bridge is like a drawbridge is the wrong analogy, but imagine like a drawbridge that meets in the middle, right? So that there's two halves. Okay, so what happens is somebody has to stand on this side to get the drawbridge to go to the middle on this side. And then somebody has to do the same on the other side. So you had to figure out how to get somebody over there with only half the bridge being there to begin with. And then you had the whole thing of managing all the mobs while you were getting one person at a time across the bridge. And it wasn't something that you could just send them single file. You had to wait for a specific spawn to drop in order to let you open the bridge. So you basically had to fight through waves of stuff to get there. Well, I'm a sniper, right? And I'm also a hunter, which can double and even triple jump in the game. And so I found these floating pedestals that were just out of reach for me to get up to, that I could snipe easily from, and the bad guys couldn't get to me. And so I just basically started trying to figure out a way to get up there just so that I could do a better job of sniping and not be aggroed so much because I was close to the ground. So I did find a way up there. And once I found a way up there, I realized that there were enough of these that I could actually get across the bridge. And so once we did that, then it became, how can we get other people up there so we don't even have to mess with this stupid bridge anymore? So that's the kind of stuff that it's just people looking for more efficient ways to do things. And yes, it ends up breaking the raid and turning into these huge elaborate exploits. Because there was a time that we never even did the bridge at all because of the fact that
But that's at least using the game's assets. I mean, that is feasible that somebody could have said, well, if somebody figures out how to get up here, oh man, they can just bypass this whole thing. You know, that's
But I don't think that's what they didn't design it that way.
They didn't design it that way. You know, but still, I mean, that's at least still finding a way in the game to do it. This is, you know, everybody falls out, pull a LAN cable out, drop a thing, and you know, really, who just does this crap randomly? You know, I don't know.
So the sad part is that is not the first LAN cable pull exploit. The I think it was the third raid. It was either the second or the third raid. There was a way that you could keep bad guys from spawning by one person pulling their LAN cable. I actually set my my PS4 is always connected via LAN, but we had everybody in our group set it up via LAN specifically so we could try it, and it worked every time. You had one person drop, and then that stopped all the spawns, and then you could just focus on the boss and get the drops. So yeah, it's not the best thing, but I get that, you know, people have connections issues, and that's how they find that crap out. Matt, did you look at the first 6 issues of Doomsday Clock?
No, I have not.
Okay, so here's the thing, right? I can't help but feel that this is going to be a giant cluster. Trying to bring the Watchmen into the main continuity, talk about different styles and viewpoints. It's almost like trying to bring Marvel into DC. I mean, really, the Marvel universe is what the Watchmen was leading up to. It's dark, it's gritty, it's nobody trusts each other. It's, you know, whereas DC has always managed to maintain some semblance of hope and camaraderie and working together. So I read the first 6 pages of this, and while it was very faithful to the Watchmen, there's nothing in it about them being integrated in the DC universe or anything. And I get and believe that Jeff Johns is writing this, so it's like I have to think it's going to be good, but I just don't get how he's going to reconcile these things. Like, I'm sure all the spin-offs will not be good, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so I'm really worried about it, but at the same time, I'm optimistic that this is going to be written well for the miniseries. So if you haven't read it, I would suggest checking it out. But you don't normally read DC anyways, do you?
No, not really. I mean, I track some stuff, but I don't really... I have to limit myself. I spend way too much on comics the way it is, and yeah. I just have to draw a line somewhere.
Well, speaking of drawing a line, the line that was drawn that made me pre-order WWE 2K18 is the fact that Colonel Mother Truckin' Sanders is a playable character in the game. The fact that you can lay the smackdown with the Colonel, I'm really hoping his finisher is the chicken wing crossface, or crossface chicken wing. It's a submission move. I'd also like him to have some kind of DDT called the seasoning shaker. He can do a little dance right before he does it. I'm all about this. This is ridiculous and amazing. Now, if you're saying why on earth would Colonel Sanders be a playable character in here, the reason is that you have no idea is because you obviously don't watch the WWE. They have been running a cross promotion with Kentucky Fried Chicken for a while now, and if you watch the Kentucky Fried Chicken commercials, Colonel Sanders is played by a different actor or comedian in almost every spot. And they have actually been having WWE wrestlers dress up as the Colonel and deliver promos for KFC as the Colonel. which is funny in and of itself. It's weird, but that also fits their marketing campaign. So it makes perfect sense that since this has been going on for a while, that he's actually a playable character in there also. I think it's hilarious. And it's one of the few things that I approve of for the WWE in a long time.
It almost looks like The Rock, the model-wise. It's the stance and the sleeveless shirt and everything.
Yeah,
and the way he's holding his face. It almost looks like it's The Rock that's been modded into.
It very well could be. I don't care if it is. I'm curious to see what moveset he comes with as default. Let's just put it that way. I'm sure I will customize it.
He's just gonna throw KFC lunch boxes at people from a distance. He's actually gonna be a ranged fighter.
Now, I will tell you that if they make a special out of the ring like item called that is a KFC like meal deal box, that would be the only way this could get better. So you can bash opponents over the head with a meal box. I'm all for this. Or you can suplex them into a bucket of wings. Yes, please. This is ridiculous, and I love it.
Only wrestling fans.
You know, the funny part is normally I like my wrestling storylines pretty serious. Like, I don't like the farcical or the whole Kane, like Mae Young giving birth to a inflatable hand thing. That was just Matt's going like, what? Yes, this was a thing. In the 90s, no less, during the Attitude Era, Kane impregnated a, 87-year-old woman, and she gave birth to an inflated plastic hand. Don't ask. We still don't know to this day. But
that hand is going to come up and actually be Colonel Sanders.
Yeah, no, that'd be great. But that's the point, is that, sometimes it can get really ludicrous. That's where my suspension of disbelief, but this is one thing that I find ludicrous that is actually funny. Shadow of War's PC download is almost 100 gigabytes in size. I about had a conniption when I read this initially, because here's what I want you to keep in mind. The PS4 version clocks in at 34 gigs. If you want the 4K content... Oh my god. Why are you... No. I don't want to do any of these things. Just continue the site. Oh my goodness. Okay. If you buy the PS4 version, it clocks in at... I want to say it's 36 gigs. And then you have a 12 gigabyte download for all of the 4K assets. So Matt, basic math, 36 plus 12 is what?
48, round up to 50.
So 50 gigs for 4K Shadow of War on the PS4. So what in God's green earth is the other 50 gigs being used for on the PC version? It makes no sense whatsoever.
It's textures, those horrible muddy console textures, that you can't,
50 gigs worth of it? That's... But this is the other part. If you don't do 4K on the PC version, it goes from 97.7 gigs down to 65 gigs.
So still bigger than...
It's still bigger than...
Is the PS4 version running some sort of compression that the other version
I don't get it. Yeah, it's really weird. But anyways, heard mostly positive things, except that there may be paywall transactions required to get the stuff you need to get to the last part of the game, which we'll talk about those wonderful loot boxes in just a couple minutes, because I'm pretty sure it's still in the newsfeed here. But do you think that we are seeing sizes go up because developers are just being sloppy and it's bloatware? Or do you think that there's actually a need beyond the high-res content and we're just not seeing it?
I would say it's a combination, probably. I mean, we've seen since hard drives, since storage has become ubiquitous, right? The coding standards have gone out the window. I mean, we're to the point now where we're doing with structured programming language, the drag and drop stuff that we were doing in the 90s or late 90s, early 2000s with HTML programming. And you know the crap code that those things built. So I can only assume it's similar. I mean, there's no reason for, we know programs ship with tons of code that's basically commented out in it or does nothing or is inert. Yeah, there's no need, because RAM and storage are big enough now that unless you're doing it on a mobile platform, and even there's some questionability, there's no need to be careful. You just 100 gigs, whatever.
Well, it's a sad day for the Windows Phone, as this week it joins the Zune and the great tech afterlife in the sky.
I thought Windows Phone had been dead for like a year now.
Yeah, well, I mean, might as well have been, but yeah. Next up, the Surface.
Oh dear, no, I think the Surface is actually doing pretty well.
I think the Surface is doing fine.
They'll survive off of that NFL contract that they've got for a good long while.
Yeah. All right, so here it is. Here's our discussion point. This is an interesting discussion that started over at Eurogamer that puts it in a way that I would like to ping you on and get your opinion on. They say rather than having an actual progression system, instead you have a loot crate system, where the only way that you can get things you need is via loot crate rather than playing the game and unlocking things.
I will say, all disclosure, whatever, for the beta, that is an accurate statement. However, on the screen in the beta, it said progression, loot boxes, drop rates, all beta specific, something to that effect. So everything we saw in the beta was scoped and scaled and implemented specifically for the beta. So as to exactly how can you, there were only 2 weapons for every class in the beta. The weapon you got to start with and one that you could either craft or get out of a loot box. There's going to be more than 2 weapons.
Yes, but
are they, we don't know, are they all loot box or are some of them progression? Because there is still a leveling system. I mean, I level capped, which was only level 10. So there is still
but you didn't get stuff for leveling up, did you?
No, but that's not to say that in the actual full game there isn't some stuff that is tied to level versus tied to loot box. See, that's the thing. We're all making the assumption, because EA hasn't told us anything different, that the final game will operate exactly like the beta. There is that asterisk in the beta that said this is different than the final product. So if they implement it that way, yes, it's pretty crappy. However, I didn't see most of the things that were available. You look at the things and they look like they're a huge boost or a huge whip, but as far as playing wise, I could get killed or kill someone just as easily who had 4-star cards of ultimate power and I had one of meh.
Yeah, but this guy gives a specific example that I think is a good one. And that is...
Okay, now realize jetpacking and rocket barrage is like 2 seconds.
Right.
That's not a major thing.
Well, right, but the amount of damage reduction you get while you're doing it between 50 and 100% is a pretty huge difference.
Right, which makes sense because you're leaving yourself completely open to do that.
And what he's saying is that you not only now need to get the full collection of cards, you have to get the best versions of them, and so you basically have to continue to buy over and over again just to get the random chance of getting those upgraded versions of those cards, because you're never going to be able to actually upgrade them in the game from how slow you get resources.
Right. Again, assuming the same
Yeah, and I was
required
hoping that
level.
this, I was hoping that this addressed that, but
As far as I've seen, EA has not made a formal statement about any of this yet, which is frustrating because, it's allowing the story to go, which
right.
means either they're panicking because that is the way they were planning on
Mm-hmm.
implementing it and they're panicking, or they're just a giant conglomerate company that's completely non-flexible or agile and can't respond that quickly.
Well, this is EA we're talking about, so I would imagine number 2 is the correct choice.
So yeah, I mean, if all weapons and all crafting material, well, no, and that's not true too. It's been commonly said that all the crafting material was linked to loot boxes. While loot boxes is one way you can get crafting materials, doing the what were they called? Kill
Yes,
10 enemies with a blaster rifle type
the
things.
achievement type
Achievement
things.
type things could either give you credits or crafting material. One of those.
But if I believe what his point was is that it was too slow and too few and far between to actually get enough to upgrade your cards the way you would want to get them.
Right. Again, if they're consistent with what we saw in the beta, yes.
Correct. So yeah, this has caused a much larger discussion because let me see if I can find it. I know it's in here. So, it's the very next story. OpenCritic, which is similar to Metacritic and what's the other one I'm thinking of?
Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, Rotten Tomatoes. But for gaming.
Right.
They are actually making a new checkbox so that when you're looking at a game to learn about it, you'll be able to see whether or not it has loot boxes. Now, there's 1,000 million questions here because WWE 2K18 is going to have loot boxes, but you cannot spend real world money to open them. You have to basically play the game to get the currency in order to open them. So would that appear on this list? That's the kind of stuff that's not really well fleshed out yet, but I think
some kind of tiered, these are in-game loot boxes, these are
in-game pay to win
transaction loot boxes. Which, to be fair, I've not seen. Do we have confirmation that the loot boxes in Battlefront are going to be microtransactioned as well as in-game?
Oh, well, no, we don't know whether or not you'll be able to earn them in-game.
Oh yeah, you can earn them in-game because you could do that in the beta, right?
Okay. Well, they will be microtransactions, so they have stated that.
Okay, I hadn't seen that written anywhere, but hadn't scoured the web either.
But then, I think this is still like the idea behind it is a good one. It's very solid. Gives you and I have a feeling that instead of being loot boxes, it'll be something like P2W loot boxes, pay to win loot boxes, because that's where they're. So
or even if they're not loot boxes, even if they're just buy the most powerful weapon in the game and use it right now. I mean, that's just as bad. But yeah, I mean, and this
this is worse because now you're going back to horse armor versus a random chance to get something, right? At least with horse armor, you're paying $350 and you know you're getting horse armor, or you're getting the most powerful weapon in the game. Whereas with a loot box, you have a random chance to get what you actually want.
Well, okay, so it depends on what you think is worse. I mean, to me, either one is just as bad. I don't think one's more insidious, I guess, than the other because it's inherently looking to make you spend more money. But if that most powerful gun in the game is $20, that's still crappy. I mean, I think they're both equally crappy. One's just slightly more insidious than the other.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I don't know. I think more that for me harkens back to last week's discussion of if you have the most powerful gun and it's $20 and it was done, why isn't it in the game? Why am I paying extra for it? As opposed to, if
which has led to the
single player game, fine. If it's a multiplayer and you're paying to win, then yes, I agree that is as equally crappy as a loot box scenario where it's in there too.
Right. And
Pay
of
to
course,
win
this has led to
sucks.
the pay to win sucks regardless where it is.
Right,
But
right.
this has led to a lot of the discussion now being, okay, well, we all pretty much understand that games at $60 today is like, a full price game in the PS1 era being $30, right? I mean that we're basically, we've held constant for so long that the games are being sold for equal dollars less than they were 15 years ago. So, is it just time to do a price increase on games, or would that, it seems like everyone's terrified to raise price on games because they think it would affect sales. But yet every time you see a regular edition, a gold edition, a platinum edition, and the mega Kamehameha collector's edition, it seems like all those higher tiers fly off the shelves perfectly fine anyway. So I don't know that there's necessarily the fear there is justified. But yeah, I mean, I know I wouldn't be able to buy as many games, but if the game is going to be effectively $100 anyway, because to be able to play it, you're going to have to buy all this crap. And I think at Battlefront, people are kind of pissed because it feels like a bait and switch, right? So no season pass, all the maps, all the heroes are going to be free. Here's pay to win loot boxes.
But if you want to actually build your character the way you want and have him be effective, him or her be effective, by the way,
loot boxes.
Be prepared. Yeah, loot boxes.
And then of course you've got Shadow of War, which did loot boxes, but based on all the reviews now, you don't need to use them. You can get through everything fine without it. The only place it might be effective is the what's it called? Siege mode. The ending, no, that got debunked. The ending's fine. You can get through the ending. It's just the online raid your friends siege mode thing. So if you want your thing to be super difficult, the way you're going to get more high level orc is to use the loot boxes. And then Forza, whatever the latest Forza game is, has kind of somewhere in between, not quite as insidious as the Battlefront 2 loot boxes might be, but not benign either. And so, it's kind of, it's a horrible mechanic, and I want it to go away, but it's not.
No,
because
it's never going to.
Overwatch has proven that you can make billions of dollars with loot boxes, so everyone else is going to try to figure out how to do it.
But their loot boxes are cosmetic,
right?
And
I get that, but I'm just saying,
not pay to win, and I think that's why people very easily buy them, because they know that they're supporting the developer at that point and trying to get something cool for the character they love. Whereas, I don't. I'm looking.
For me, they're equally crappy. It's like I'm either paying for something that means absolutely nothing, or I'm paying to get something that I should have gotten in the first place.
So no, you don't. Yeah, I had seen this article, but I hadn't had a chance to read it, which is from Rock Paper Shotgun or Eurogamer, I can't remember which. But it basically says, do you need to buy loot boxes to complete Shadow of War's final act? And the answer is no, like you said.
No, maybe that's the one you have to do at a certain difficulty level to get the actual ending.
Yeah.
Some game recently did that, and I can't remember which one it is.
But yeah, so all of this hubbub over loot boxes suddenly prompted, I guess, someone to ask the ESRB, which is the ratings bureau, is our loot boxes gambling? And this is where I'm a little concerned that that's not a fair question to ask the ESRB, because they have an inherent interest to say no. Because if a game has gambling in it, then it is automatically bumped to an adults only, meaning that it can't pretty much be published in most countries. So, since the ESRB
Don't the Yakuza games have gambling mini games in them?
Don't the what?
Don't the Yakuza games have?
No. I'm not talking about gambling mini games. I'm talking straight up gambling.
Okay. Well, yeah, then totally they're not gambling because there's no chance to lose.
Right. You're always going to get something.
You always win. It's not gambling.
But if you take that off the table for a second, what I'm saying is that the ESRB has an inherent interest to say, no, it's not, but because they want to stay in business and keep making the bunnies. But whatever. But I agree on what they said in that, in gambling you can lose everything, whereas with loot boxes, it may not be the thing you want, but you're going to get something. You're going to get something.
You may be taking a gamble, but it's not gambling. So
right. I'm almost interested to see if eventually, from this backlash, if we don't see something similar to what China requires from publishers, which is that they publish the loot tables, so you know exactly what percentage you get to get the thing that you're actually trying to buy.
Oh. So you know the odds. So if it was, you'd have to publish the odds. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's interesting. All in all, do I think loot boxes are great? No, I think they suck. I actually think in the context
you bought billions of dollars of Overwatch boxes.
No, you know what? You think that's the one? It's not. It's Final Fantasy Record Keeper.
Oh yeah.
That was.
That one, yeah. That probably overdid that even.
Yeah. But do I think they're going to... I think if you're going to do it, I think WWE way is the smart way to do it, because that keeps them continually playing your game. It extends the life of the game. Because if I find out that I can get a Colonel Sanders finisher from a loot box called the Seasoning Shaker, then I am going to put more hours into playing the game to unlock the currency to go for another spin to try and get it. And I will not be done until I actually get it. And I think that's a smart way to implement the loot box system rather than having it be a pay to win or pay to unlock kind of scenario. Do I think that the microtransaction loot boxes are going to go away anytime soon? No. That Pandora's box... See what I did there? Pandora's loot box has been opened, and the jackpot was rolled by developers, and so it will never go away.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously in the F2P world, especially in the mobile, you're never going to see the end of that because that's their monetization model. I think that
not everybody's like Star Trek on. Well, no, I can't say that either. Never mind.
But for the most part, that's where this had its genesis, right? And now it's leaking over into, hey, pay full price for your game and pay for more stuff. Yeah, that's the way it will go.
So what do you think about pay to win or non-pay to win loot box transactions? Tell us what you think. Let us know on our Twitter page @Gamersledge. Or you can hit us up via email, gamersledge@gmail.com, or any of the myriad ways, Facebook, all those good things. You can Pinterest, stumble upon, Reddit. You take your pick. We're all good. All the socials, all the time. Stick a fork in Dave because he's done. Matt, did you see? I kind of put this up a little earlier in the day. Nintendo has registered a classic mini Game Boy trademark in Japan.
Yes, along with renewing a dozen other Game Boy related copyrights or trademarks or whatever. So yeah, I saw that, which leads one to wonder, okay, so is it going to be a TV hookup? Is it going to be a handheld? Is it going to actually never happen?
It would seem like a weird thing to hook to your TV.
Remember there was that adapter for the Super Nintendo that allowed you to put your GB carts in that and play on your TV before the Game Boy Color even, and you could add color to the levels. so you could like.
I guess, but the whole point about the Game Boy is the fact that it's portable. So,
Right, but how many people are going to buy a thing with really crappy LCD display and want to play that?
I don't know how many people are going to buy crappy 8-bit games, play it once, and then never play it again.
A lot. That
This
one I
guy.
get. That's a lot of that. I just have an 8-bit player in my basement already, so I don't feel the need to.
Yeah, I hear you. It came out this week that Final Fantasy XIV put more areas for players to buy houses up for sale, and it's almost like Second Life. There is a virtual real estate nightmare within the game, and it's completely created by the developers. It makes no sense whatsoever. In a game that has literally millions of players, there are only 2,000 plots of land per server to buy.
I guess they're mimicking the San Francisco real estate
Yeah, I guess. Jeez.
market,
Yeah.
or maybe the Tokyo real estate market.
It's 2017 and we still haven't figured out virtual real estate for gamers. It's crazy. Oculus announced a price drop on the Rift to a permanent price of $299 that is in effect now. That does not include the touch controllers, so you're still looking at, I think, $599, $499 is the total for the bundle now. It's less than the Rift. Still doesn't do the same thing, or less than the Vive. Still doesn't do the same thing as the Vive. What was interesting, and I hadn't had a chance to look at all the specs, is when I originally scoped this one out. I think I put. It's hard to tell if they announced the Oculus Go for $199 as a standalone VR headset that doesn't require a PC. And what I wasn't sure of, because I hadn't had a chance to dig in, was whether or not it was a phone display kit. And apparently it is not. So then my question becomes, where on earth is it getting the signal from? And what does it do? Because it's hard to get into the technical side of this, but the thing about the Vive is that you can move around in 3D space in the virtual world, which helps with the immersion so much that it's not even funny. If you've ever used any of the headphone sets or the phone headsets, they're not as immersive. All you can basically do is look around left and right. And if you have the Google version, which Dave has, what is that called?
Daydream.
Oh, the Daydream. If you have the Daydream, you have a controller, and so you can move around and interact with things, and that's cool. This thing is going to have a controller, but what is powering it? That's what I want to know. No one has a standalone headset yet.
My guess is that front is basically a phone. It's just built in.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So they're basically going to... It will not be a phone per se, but basically the guts of a phone in there to do the same work.
It's my guess.
That is probably a very good guess. That still really sucks, I think. We'll have to see. I'm not sure how this is going to go. There's no release date or anything for the Go yet. In fact, very, very few details were given on it. But it'll be interesting to see how the lawsuit pans out, because I sure hope that they've revised their code for the Go and they're not using the Oculus Home stuff. Otherwise, it's going to fall under the same injunction that, whatever. Yay, VR.
I'm surprised they can use the word Go and somebody hasn't copyrighted that.
Yeah, like Lara Croft Go, and yeah. That actually brings us to... No, we're going to skip that. No, we're going to skip that too. Is it going to skip that one?
Yeah,
there it is.
People play PUBG, yes, we know.
Yeah, we'll get to that one because it's actually a little bit. So, Valve has announced the first update to Steam VR 2.0, which will be tied to the Vive 2.0. 4 lighthouses, and you'll be able to play in 1,100 square foot of virtual reality space.
Which means the headset has to be wireless.
So they have not confirmed that yet, but I agree it leans in that direction. But if you do look at a lot of the industrial spaces today, they have the cables going straight up, like they're on grids that move with you as you move through. So not necessarily, but I do hope that that is the case. What I'm curious is whether the base Vive system will come with 4 lighthouses, because it seems like you can't do that without increasing the cost exponentially, because those lighthouses are some of the more expensive pieces in the set. And while we're on our VR block, the other one that I will talk about is that Respawn Entertainment has said that they are working on an Oculus Rift VR shooter. And it's not Star Wars, and it's not anything that you've probably heard of. That I'm personally thinking it's got to be Titanfall. I think they're bringing Titanfall into VR, because why would they start something
Except
new
in the subtitle there from the Game Informer article, it literally says, not Titanfall, not Star Wars.
Oh, not Titanfall. Okay, fine. Fine. It could be a misdirection, though. It could be Titanfall. We'll see. But that's interesting. And then I think our last couple things, we already tackled the ESRB, saying loot boxes are not gambling. And then last but not least, PlayerUnknown's Battleground has passed the biggest milestone on Steam. They are now over 2 million concurrent users, which is, they are the first game in history to hit 2 million concurrent users on Steam. Counter-Strike and Half-Life. No, I'm sorry. Counter-Strike and Arma have come close, but this is the first one to actually do it. The interesting part is, from here on out, the only records that PlayerUnknown's Battleground will be creating on Steam are things for other people to pass someday.
Can we just call this game out now, please?
It's not out yet. It's still not out.
My God, it's out.
Well, there's only one map. I mean, it's really not. They're going to have another
map. If 2 million people at one time are playing the game, I don't care if it's got half a map. It's out.
Matt, did I have anything in the list that I overlooked or something I missed that was,
I don't think so,
noteworthy and newsworthy for you?
No, it hasn't been calm. I mean, we had a good amount of news, but it hasn't been really hectic recently either. I mean, a lot of it's been tied up in the loot crates and the pay to win and that kind of stuff over the last bit. You know, Battlefront 2's beta was the big thing for the week, you know, and
then that's going to bring us to the part where we thank our patrons. Thank you so much for supporting us. If you'd like to be a patron, you can do so by heading to the URL that you see at the bottom of the screen, patreon.com/gamersledge. If you pledge at the $5 a month level or higher, we take a moment out every Wednesday to personally thank you. So thank you. I'm going to see if I can get through all of them this time without forgetting anybody. Naomi, thank you. Bobby, thank you. Ian, thank you. John, thank you. Justin, and I didn't make it. Who am I forgetting?
I wasn't paying attention.
Regina. Thank you, Regina.
Okay.
Yes. So thank you guys for being patrons at that level. If you pledge at the $1 a month or higher level, then you'll get your name at the credits of everything that we do, which you'll see at the end of the show. That's going to bring us then to final thoughts. Matt, your final thoughts for this week. I've got 2 I got to remember.
Well, my final thought is actually a question because I don't recall if you've mentioned it or not. Did you watch the Star Wars Episode 8 trailer?
Okay, so I wasn't going to because the director said don't watch the trailer.
He said he was having conflicted feelings about people watching the trailer.
Which tells me that it was a chop job. You know what I mean? Like that end part, I'm pretty sure.
Those two scenes were very obviously not
related at all.
It was kind of funny because I said that to myself. I later watched Kevin Smith watching the thing, and we got to that same point in the trailer, and his reaction was like exactly the same reaction I had, which is okay. Kind of validates my thoughts on that, but yeah, that last scene is definitely a red herring. The one in the middle might be a red herring.
But I don't know. It's what I don't like.
I know you don't like Star Wars. Well, it's not
no.
But you don't. It's not a thing for you, right? I mean, Star Wars is not. You didn't play the Battlefront demo. You know, it's not a thing for you. But did this intrigue you more or less, or the same for the movie?
So I'm gonna say this, and for me, watching it, what I did not like about episode 8, was that the last one, or episode 7?
7 were Rogue One, which 7 was the last.
No. Rogue One was good, which everybody hates Rogue One who has anything to do with Star Wars. Whatever. I thought it was actually great. But
I don't hate it, but yeah, it has problems.
Yeah, well, I know it throws continuity out of whack and makes Leia not the cool person that she appeared to be in the original set of movies. But whatever. Not the point. Point is, the reason I didn't like 7 was because it was basically a direct rehash of
A New Hope.
A New Hope, yes. And so I wanted them to go a radically different direction with this one, and it really does look like the movie where Luke lands on Dagobah and trains with Yoda.
You take away your geek card, you know. If there's one Star Wars movie whose name you should know, it's that one.
Empire Strikes Back.
There you go. Thank you.
I know. I'm just being difficult. But anyways, my point is that there were a lot of, for me, it sure seemed like there were a lot of mirrors back to that movie. You know?
There were definitely points that looked to parallel, but again, I think there was a lot of misdirection in that movie or in that trailer. So I don't know that we really know anything more than we knew before.
But why do that, right? I mean, that's my point. Is like, why would you? Because this is a lose-lose scenario for them. Either people go in thinking it's going to be like that trailer and then be disappointed, or people discredit the trailer and go in thinking it's going to be something else, and if it is like that, then they're going to be pissed off. So it's like, I don't know.
I don't. To me, it's a hype device. I think, and as a hype device, I think it works. I think it's got a lot of cool images. It's got a lot of cool one-lines. You know, there's a lot of imagery there that you can start to postulate what's going on and hypothesize. But I mean, ultimately, a trailer should not do anything other than, I mean, for something like this, especially, a trailer should just give you enough. It's that whiff that you get of what's coming out of the kitchen, right? All it should do is make your mouth start to water. I mean, we've had this problem recently with trailers where you've basically just watched a 2-minute version of the movie.
You're right. I agree with that. That's horrible.
Definitely not that, and I think that's where this trailer succeeded.
Can you smell what the Disney's cooking?
I think I can.
Yeah.
You didn't do the tongue thing though. You got it.
Can you smell?
I wish I could have saw that.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You can. Well, you can by rewatching the podcast.
I just gotta go watch the movie.
Let me see. I gotta pull up the end credits here.
All right. So you had two things. That was my thing. Watch it or don't. It's fine either way. But if
I did watch it.
Right.
That's how I know what.
Right. No, I was saying to the audience. Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying you have to watch it. I'm not saying don't watch it. I think it's safe to watch in the fact that it doesn't necessarily give too much away. But
there's definitely mixed feelings, mixed bag for me personally.
Yeah.
But not all bad.
And Gorilla Walkers still look dumb. I'm sorry. This is one design I'm never gonna go for.
So 2 things. Did you see the latest episode of Dragon Ball Z Super?
I have not even started watching Dragon Ball Z Super, but I understand a new Super Saiyan Super was unlocked. So
I'm totally gonna spoil it for you. Because this is kind of funny. They have a new big bad who's basically at the level of Beerus. Well, so do you know the premise of Super at all?
It basically takes place after Dragon Ball Z and overrides GT. Beyond that, and there was the Anubis enemy that Goku unlocked Super Saiyan God level 2 Super Saiyan or something ridiculous like that name. Beyond that, that's about all I know.
Okay, so let me back up and help clarify there. So it actually happens between the next to last episode of Dragon Ball Z and the last episode of Dragon Ball Z, because if you remember, the last episode took place 10 years later.
Right, okay.
So this basically takes place in between those 2 episodes. So those 10 years, this is where it picks up directly after that next to last episode of Dragon Ball Z. So it hasn't necessarily written over GT. We don't know. We don't know for sure. It looks like certain things. Yeah, well, it looks like certain things have been retconned out, but anyways, I don't want to get too into that mired swamp.
Right.
So Beerus is the Anubis-looking god of destruction that has been slumbering for millennia, and he actually learned 2 new forms. He learned Super Saiyan God, which is the red hair, and then he learned the next one further, which was Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan, which is a mouthful, which is the blue hair. And that is supposed to be like the ultimate form. He trains with the God of Death, and the God of Death still kicks his butt, but it's as strong as a mortal can pretty much hope to achieve. So, anyways, I guess they get the Kai of Time involved, and anyways, it turns out there's multiple dimensions, and Beerus sets up a fight, or one of either the Kai or Beerus, I can't remember who. Anyways, this is like the ultimate person of power, sets up this tournament that basically pits fighters from all of the different universes against each other, and only the winner's universe will survive afterwards. And so there are some other Super Saiyans that come out of this and stuff like that. And it's actually been a pretty decent series up until this point. Well, I mean, still decent after this. But then they suddenly have this guy who is at the level of the Destroyer God, who is immortal. And it looks like, I think they're from Universe 7. And it looks like they're going to take everything. Well, he hadn't fought Goku. And finally they face off to fight each other. And Goku basically almost gets killed in Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan form by this guy. Like, it's not even a contest. And so, but at the same time, this other guy doesn't fight without honor. He fights with honor. And he's only fighting him because he thinks that Goku might have something in him that can push him further to be a better fighter. And so Goku does the Spirit Bomb as Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan while he's jacked up on Kaioken 20. And he uses all of the universe fighters from his universe to make the Spirit Bomb. And the guy's like, no, take all the time you need, make your Spirit Bomb. And yeah, really.
Episodes later.
Well, no. Surprisingly, this whole fight lasts about 20 minutes. So surprisingly, they've gotten a lot better about that. By the way, because I'm right there with you. Yeah, exactly. So he builds the Spirit Bomb, throws it at the guy. The guy sends the Spirit Bomb back by glancing at it. That's how powerful this guy is. And Goku and him go back and forth, and they almost destroy this special fighting place that's been set up by the gods. But in the end, this guy just kills Goku with the Spirit Bomb, or so everybody thinks. But what he actually did is he absorbed the Spirit Bomb into himself, and it gave him this new... He's normal-haired Goku, black-haired Goku, but he's got a shimmery, celestial... Like, you know, Eternity in Marvel Comics?
Okay.
If that was a little more transparent and blue, that's what it would look like shimmering around him and all over the front of him. And he's almost matrixing now when he has it. It's called Ultimate Instinct is the name of the power-up. But he's almost matrixing now, like he's doing the Neo, to every attack that this guy's throwing at him now. But apparently he can only sustain it for so long. And so in the end, he does actually lose the fight. I don't know if he dies. But the point is that he's pushed himself farther than any mortal ever has, etc. I don't know how they're going to overcome it, but maybe, Vegeta will somehow pull through and figure out how to do this ultimate instinct thing. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to watch, but this was actually the opposite of what you normally see, which a lot of the time you see Goku just, powering up, getting to a point, and then, that's it. This time it was pretty much 20 minutes of Goku getting his ass kicked. So if you like that type of thing, this is definitely the episode for you, and you can find it on YouTube. It's all in Japanese, but that's the first part. Second part, much shorter. So
is that also what's being referred to as Goku Black now? Because I heard that on a podcast.
No. So Goku Black is a parasite that, or like a do you remember how Captain Ginyu could inhabit other people's bodies?
Right.
Same thing. From a parallel dimension, a Captain Ginyu type person inhabits the minds of the greatest fighters and eventually takes over Goku, and from that universe. And so he's actually an evil Goku with the power of Goku, who's not actually Goku. So, but he's from a different universe. So keep in mind, it's not actually Goku, but that's Goku Black. That's different. So this is Ultimate Instinct Goku, which at this point is getting
simplified. It should be Super Saiyan God Instinct Saiyan Super Saiyan God Goku.
Shh, don't give them any ideas. Hush. The other
Vegeta is just the ultimate copycat. It's like he can't ever come up with anything on his own. It's like
no, he can't. So can I. Yeah, no, that's exactly it, and that's hilarious. And he's So the second part of my final thought is
that was the longest final thought.
I know. WWE 2K18 early access begins Friday morning. Nice and early. If you pre-ordered it, not from GameStop, because they're stuck apparently this time. So just FYI. With that said, that's going to bring us to the way we end every show, which is with a kernel of wisdom to help you get you through your week till next week.
All those things you just said are wrong.
Yeah. So, there's so many choices.
Make sure my hair is still short enough. I can't pull any out. Okay.
I actually really like this one, and I think it's one you're gonna like as opposed to one you will dislike. But Matt, what's the difference between ignorance and apathy?
I don't know. What is the difference between ignorance and apathy?
I don't know, and I don't care.
That's actually a good one.
I thought you'd like that. I thought you'd like it. I thought it was a pretty good one. And with that, until next time, thanks for watching and game on.
Game on.